You know, there are multiple forms of excitement in life, but there are two that really stand out to me. Number one is the pure childlike excitement as you bounce off the walls, you absolutely can't believe something's happening. And then there's the other form of excitement, the excitement I experience more frequently than anything, which just is being content. Feeling good that something is actually happening, and that's something being a glimmer of hope, a little thing that you can just clasp onto and hold on to for the rest of your life, hoping that your favorite series actually may return. Knights of the Old Republic, baby. Let's get into it. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and we are talking about the possible return of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, not the video game, but in fact through a movie or TV show, which naturally I believe can move into the video game space. We'll get into that later, but for now, we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes, my favorite meal, the meat and potatoes of this information. It comes from MTV. It's like life's coming full circle. I remember being a little kid before school. I'd watch their sick music videos, get pumped up for a day of learning, even though I really hated my life in school until I got home and could play my Xbox. And now here they are reporting KOTOR news. It's crazy how the industry adapts. Anyway, take a look at a snippet of this interview and have your mind blown.
Knights of the Old Republic, a lot of fans want to see that. Is there any development of that?
We talk about that all the time. Yes, we are developing something to look at. Right now, I have no idea where things might fall.
So I gotta point out three things right away, even though I'm freaking out a little bit on the inside, because finally we got something to hold on to. KOTOR fans like me and you out there, we can all just together be like, oh my God, it might happen. It might happen. For starters, she interrupts him and says, you know, we talk about that a lot. So it's constantly in the conversations at the office. They are exploring it. They want something to happen there. They need the right idea. But she also mentions later on how they want to make sure they're not doing too much and that they're not trying to overwhelm fans or get too far away from Star Wars where they're just using the brand. Kind of like how Assassin's Creed went with Odyssey. While it was a fantastic game, one of the best of the year, it very much stepped away from being an Assassin's Creed title. It was more so, let's use the name and then just set it in a cool universe and go crazy with the ideas. So I'm happy they're trying to stay within what Star Wars is as a core. But if you listen to her words very closely, you hear that it's pretty much not going past the concept phase at this point in time. We are developing something to look at. All right, so basically you guys are writing ideas on a piece of paper. Awesome. She follows that up by saying, right now, I have no idea where things may fall. Come on, give me something definitive. And by that, I mean like, hey, it exists, it's happening, we're doing it, here's a trailer, holy shit, you're gonna crap your pants, Maddie, just for you, man. Anyway, it's really, really awesome to hear that maybe the Old Republic universe is coming back, and it actually combines with a rumor from last month, which now we can take a look at here and discuss its legitimacy and also dive into some of the information. Now it's confirmed that Lucasfilm is investigating making a Knights of the Old Republic show or movie. This information comes from IGN, but it was sourced through comicbook.com. Via comicbook.com, Star Wars News Net has reported that one of its sources, a contact who has worked on every Disney Star Wars film, is 95% confident that this series will in fact take place in the Old Republic, which has been featured in such games as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and the MMO Star Wars The Old Republic. This rumored time period, according to the source, has been chosen as Disney wants to open up the Star Wars timeline and appeal to a more Game of Thrones style audience. The films are said to take place hundreds of years prior to the Skywalkers, and the source is claiming that these films will almost be Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings, and that filming will begin this fall. Now this times out perfectly because we're more aware of what Disney and Lucasfilm are up to with Star Wars after the Star Wars Celebration weekend. We know The Mandalorian is dropping in November on Disney Plus, and now we're seeing that, oh, filming may begin for KOTOR in this fall, meaning that perhaps Disney can take some of the data, how people respond to things in The Mandalorian, such as its grittiness, how different it is, a television styled Star Wars show that is live action. How are people going to receive all of that? So they'll have that data to use when they make KOTOR, which is huge. Furthermore, it's exciting that they know that Star Wars goes beyond the Skywalkers. While they are probably the most famous, I'd say, in all of Star Wars, it's good that they know that this is a really exciting setting in general, and that while people may be kind of over the whole Skywalker thing, that most folks are excited to see other parts of the Star Wars universe. But what may stand out to you more is Game of Thrones style audience, Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings. If you're not super familiar with KOTOR, then Maddie, why the hell are these worlds crossing? What does that mean? I've always defined KOTOR as having a somewhat medieval feel that also meets sci-fi, and that's because, for example, one of the most common weapons you can use in KOTOR when you're playing the game is a vibro blade, and you often see henchmen and thugs using that, and that's a more frequent encounter than a lightsaber. It's not like, for example, in the movies where we see everyone with lightsabers, it's all about the Jedi Order. Now, in Knights of the Old Republic, it's a lot more I define as gritty. For example, you don't see the pristine and shiny armor like that on a stormtrooper or a clone trooper. In fact, the only shine on an armor that you do see is that of a Sith trooper, and that's more designed to be like medieval armor. It's clunky, it's heavy, but it gets the job done, and it looks good. Also, as you play through KOTOR, I won't spoil it for those who haven't played it, but there is a sense that a lot of these worlds are still developing, making progress. I always believed Manan had laws that went too far and restricted its citizens. Terrace has the lower city, and then the undercity, which is just the pit that you do not want to live in. No one down there knows what the sun looks like. And then you also have, for example, Kashyyyk, which has that underbrush section where you don't know what happens down there. People just go down, they die, but also Circa's working down there, and so on. There's mystery embedded in every single planet because the universe is still discovering itself. It's at the very early point in the Star Wars timeline. And so that's what makes it so fascinating, but also why that it has a more, like I say, medieval meets sci-fi theme. I know some will watch this video and go, oh, it's a show, it's a movie, I want a game, I want an RPG. But right now, I think it's good that it's going to be a show or a movie. Not that if there was a game, I'd be against it. Hell, I've been crying for a game for probably about 6 years on my channel now, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. But the reason why this is good is because the Star Wars license is in incompetent hands. While I think Jedi Fallen Order can shape up to be a solid game, we've seen what EA's done with the Star Wars license and its studios involving it. I don't need to go into detail on that. It's obviously awful. And perhaps if Disney and Lucasfilm nail a good show or a good movie, by the time that the Star Wars deal is up for EA and it doesn't get renewed there, that a developer who is competent and who does own a solid RPG studio can step in and make a KOTOR game tying into this movie or tying into this show that we all wanted to see. I think that is what's really important about this. While yes, it may not be what we're looking for right now, it's a good sign for the future because that eats up time, that gives us more KOTOR, which is something we haven't received anything of. Like anything at all. And I don't know where they'd set this in the universe of Knights of the Old Republic because that's a whole timeline of its own and what the characters would be, if they'd retell the game or if they'd actually go off and do their own thing. I think Revan's incredibly important. You have to give at least some nods to him as well as Bastila or the Shan family in general. But outside of that, man, I don't know what they do. And that's kind of what's exciting about it too, is that we always talk about a KOTOR 3 or a KOTOR re-release that remasters the original games and puts them into a package together. But we never talk about the idea of a KOTOR deviating from the storyline that we all know and love from the original two games on the Xbox and PC. And I think that's also a really exciting premise. Doesn't mean it'll be as good. I doubt it because that's my favorite shit ever, but hey, on the other end, it's more of a universe I've fallen in love with, and I'm so excited to discover more about it outside of books. You know, there are plenty of comics and books that you can read out there in the universe that give you plenty of the Old Republic flavor, plus the MMO, which does continue to get updated. But I know all of us out there, we want something new in the entertainment realm. We want a show, we want a movie, and I wouldn't expect this anytime soon. I'm sure we wouldn't hear anything about this until next Star Wars Celebration, but still, this was something I absolutely had to get onto. I had to talk about it on the channel. You guys know, right when KOTOR news breaks, it takes priority above everything. That means Borderlands, Fallout, CD Projekt Red, everything, man. It takes complete priority, and I'm sure you guys understand that because, you know, I'm geeking out and I've been just praying and begging for something new. So for me, I'm excited at the idea of a show or a movie set in this universe because I want to see some new storytellers get their hands on it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Are you looking forward to a movie or a show set in the Old Republic timeline, or are you looking for just that game and that's all you care about? I think a lot of the Old Republic strengths thrive off of it being a game, such as fantastic writing, great characters, amazing choices, and so on. But I think the universe on its own is really appealing because that's what got me into Star Wars, really, was the idea of it not just being lightsabers and flips and cool stuff, but more so a gritty approach to it, characters I wasn't super familiar. And I've told the story before on how this is what really got me to fall in love with Star Wars. So I'd love to hear what you guys are feeling in the comments down below. Do fire away, ladies and gentlemen. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are, as always, in the links in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.